Hi, my name's Kat and welcome to my YouTube channel. This week I'm going to be talking about the issue of a second referendum, which I know can be quite controversial. But with 56 SNP MPs down at Westminster, the issue of a second referendum is still very much alive. However, for the moment, the SNP have chosen to avoid conference resolutions on the issue of a second referendum. There's some in the SNP who believe that we should gradually be building Scotland's sphere of influence under the current constitutional arrangement, and this is a view known as gradualism. So, most gradualists think that Cameron's promised referendum on the European Union will be the big dividing line between Scottish politics and politics at Westminster. They want to wait until UKIP and the Tory Eurosceptic backbenchers have played their hand before we think about how to progress constitutional issues for the future of Scotland. But really, I'm not so sure about this. And yes, of course, I loathe Nigel Farage as much as pretty much any person does in Scotland. And yeah, the European debate is dominated by racists and homophobes. But really, see, having just watched the Troika destroy Athens with legislation, the way that America destroyed Baghdad with bombs, I'm really not sure that Europe is a good moral dividing line for us anymore. I'm not sceptical about Europe as such, I'm just increasingly sceptical about being able to improve our lives and us being able to improve our conditions and the way that we go around our day-to-day business whilst we're under the rule of an unelected European elite. See, the thing is, the dividing lines between Scottish politics and politics at Westminster already exist, because at the last general election, Scotland voted as a bloc against austerity, and we are now ruled by the most reckless and radical right-wing government in living memory. Austerity is ripping apart the very last scraps of what might be considered to be decent about living in Britain. The welfare state, the NHS, and the fact that you could openly and freely join a trade union. In Scotland, we live with that injustice every single day. There are kids who are going to school hungry in the mornings because their mum's got no choice but to work for minimum wage. And there are still pensioners who are having to choose whether they put their heating on or put food on the table. Forget the European Union. Forget whether the vow was delivered or not, because it is the billions of unnecessary cuts that are destroying people's lives that provide the moral and political case for having a second referendum. Some people say it's naive to argue for a second referendum in the next term of the Scottish Parliament. They say strategically the best thing to do is wait maybe a decade before arguing for indy ref number 2. But I think that perspective forgets how strong the independence side of the argument is compared to how weak the unionist position is right now. Waiting another decade just gives Labour a chance to sort itself out and then to offer piecemeal options for change to people in Scotland. The truth is, right now, Labour are offering nothing. Even Jeremy Corbyn has said there won't be another referendum, there won't be any further devolution, and that kills off the last hopes for a home rule style politics, which is probably the only thing that could renew Scottish Labour right now. I agree with Jeremy Corbyn on nearly everything, on economic policy, on austerity, on peace, on internationalism. I mean, my column in The National a few weeks ago was about the good sides of Jeremy Corbyn's campaign and how actually, in terms of his ideas, he's a natural ally of the pro-independence radical left in Scotland. I mean, we've got more in common with Jeremy Corbyn's anti-austerity, anti-Trident ideas than the new leader of the Scottish Labour Party ever will. But his argument against independence seems to be that it's because Alex Salmond said it was a once-in-a-lifetime vote. I mean, Corbyn's campaign itself has all been about democracy. And so what Alex Salmond said is really irrelevant It's the democratic will of the people in Scotland that matters, and Corbyn should know this. If Labour wanted to be the serious party of the Scottish working class, then it should stop dismissing independence as if it was some kind of fringe issue. I think that the independence movement should make the democratic case for a second referendum, and I think we should do it by standing candidates on the regional lists in 2016 on an anti-austerity ticket for Indy Ref 2. So what do you think? What do you think about a second referendum? And I know that this is a controversial topic. When I wrote my column in The National about it, my Twitter feed went mental, so I know that people have views on this. So take part in the discussion. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. Subscribe to my channel for more next week.